Hey friends, this is Derrick Broze with the Conscious Resistance Network, and today we're going to talk about vaccines. It's time to put an end to it. It is time for us to put a final just end to the nonsense coming from these anti-vaxxers. It's time to arrest them. That's right. If you're out there and you're not vaccinating your kids for the good of the rest of us and for the rest of this collective, then you no longer have rights. It's time to fine you. It's time to quarantine you. And if that doesn't do it, well, then we're going to send men with guns to your house to lock you in a cage until you know how to raise your child the way we want to. And if you don't do so, well, then I guess we'll take your child from you, and the rest of us, part of the collective, can raise it for you, because obviously you are just too crazy to know what's going on. Okay, seriously, what's up, guys? So today, obviously, we're going to talk about vaccines. We're going to talk about a new report that goes into a call by the Washington Post, one of their journalists, an opinion piece calling for arresting people who do not vaccinate or who have questions. I hate using the term anti-vaxxer. But before we do that, I want to remind you guys to bookmark theconsciousresistance.com, get all of our latest content. Make sure you follow us on minds.com, where we are now putting out exclusive content 1 to 2 times a week. I uploaded a new piece of content yesterday on 5G, and I'm going to be posting a new article today that will be posted specifically on minds.com/the Conscious Resistance Network. And this is where you can find all of our content and get plugged into what we're doing. And I also created a personal page as well. So if you used to be friends with me on Facebook and remember me posting a lot, well, now you can find me on Minds. So this report that I did right here on 5G is only found on Minds for at least a few days, and there will be another article later, so you don't want to miss that. But let's get right into this. Let's take a look at this Washington Post: anti-vaxxers are dangerous, make them face isolation, fines, and arrests. Yep, we finally reached that point. It might be coming quicker than some of us thought, by Juliet Kayyem, who I'm sure if you look her up, she probably got some Twitter accounts or Instagram or Facebook where she'd love your comments. And we're not going to really bother reading this, but she just says, these anti-vaxxer parents, call them free riders or even pro-plague. Yeah, you're pro-plague if you do not vaccinate your kids. Are putting my children and our communities at risk to cater to their erroneous belief that vaccinations would harm their children rather than contribute to the elimination of childhood diseases. So right away, it's got a false argument here. She's putting up, one goalpost here saying that people who do not believe in vaccinations or question them, for one, they're worried about kids getting harmed, but she doesn't mention, well, the vaccine injury court. I'm pretty sure if we look through this short little garbage piece, there's no mention of basically of injuries or any of the studies or any of the CDC whistleblower or any of the things that we've covered on this channel. It's time we stop viewing the anti-vax movement and its inheritance responsibility for the measles outbreak as a public health problem. It's now a public safety crisis, and the tools of public safety, arrests, fine, and isolation are absolutely necessary. We're not in a both sides movement. So basically she's saying both sides don't get to have an argument. Just as he does with both sides' statements regarding white supremacists, Trump promotes risky, unscientific ideologies until the reality of their harm becomes too dangerous to ignore. So we are in a crisis, an avoidable one, but a crisis nonetheless. Measles cases in the United States are the highest number on record. Let's keep going. Basically, she says, it's important to remember that the measles outbreak is not only the result of low information communities or religious exceptions. Instead, this outbreak is what happens when negligent people do negligent things, such as sending a kid to school with a loaded gun. Okay, not vaccinating your kid is now the same as sending a kid to school with a loaded gun. And she's also making the distinction. This is what they're going after. I'm telling you guys, they're coming for religious exemptions, and they're coming for any sort of philosophical and personal exemptions. They do not want you to have that right to do so. She says the initial steps we have taken are essential. Prohibit non-vaccinated children from public spaces, including schools. Promote educational efforts, and in extreme cases, force isolation on pockets of population that have been exposed to the outbreak. But these efforts impact the children who might have been put at risk by the decisions of individuals not to vaccinate. Viewed through the lens of a public safety, is it the parents who should be published? How long before they say the parents should have their children taken away? Like I was joking about a moment ago. Fines for the increased public safety burdens put on these communities by a few ought not be the responsibility of all. So let's go on. Now listen to this. Not only have she said that you're pro-plague if you don't vaccinate, and that not vaccinating your kid is like sending your kid to school with a loaded gun. She said In the same way, we have created sex offender lists to protect our children. Communities can inventory families that choose not to be vaccinated, notifying employees of their parents as well as neighbors who may choose not to expose their children. Now, I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that when it comes voluntarily, but she's comparing this to sex offender list, and that's the same as, you know, having a list of people who don't vaccinate. Exceptions might be made for religious or medical reasons, but for those who are simply choosing to ignore, not for those who are simply choosing to ignore the science. So who gets to decide when you're simply ignoring the science and when you have a legitimate claim? The anti-vaxxers are also putting at-risk populations that cannot be vaccinated due to health conditions or allergic reactions, mostly children and the elderly. These people are dependent on the rest of us. Yeah, that's the herd immunity argument we've heard. Yes, the language is harsh, the language of a Homeland Security expert, not a pediatrician. Maybe the threat of greater penalties will get these parents to be less self-centered, but sometimes a crisis requires a change in orientation, if only to scare the free riders into loving my children as much as I love theirs. That's what it's about now. So you don't love your children if you don't vaccinate. She is the faculty chair of the Homeland Security Project at Harvard University's Kennedy School of Government, a former assistant secretary at the Department of Homeland Security, former DHS employee, and author of Security Mom, an unclassified guide to protecting our homeland and yours. And there's her Twitter account right there. Look, guys, I mean, this is really crazy stuff when it comes down to it. This is them, and I'm saying they, but the media, Washington Post, corporate media, owned by Bezos, owned by some of these same power players, pushing this message. It's being reinforced by the New York Times, by all of the mainstream garbage out there, playing up this hysteria and downplaying any questions as just anti-vaxxer, now pro-plague, or comparing it to having a loaded gun, and these kinds of things. I mean, it really is outrageous. So there's her Twitter account if you feel like going and tweeting to her, tweeting her article, or maybe sending her some sources on why she should, you know, not be, for one, calling for forcing people to be vaccinated, but also why she might ask a few questions about vaccinations in the meantime. And there, you know, that's where it's at, guys. It's down to the Washington Post literally pushing for people to be vaccinated at this point. And it's kind of scary, man. This is, I think, a part of a bigger problem that we've talked about, which is the censorship that's also coming, because they're not also only talking about, hey, maybe it's time to arrest people and force vaccinate them, but they're also talking about it's time to remove this content off Instagram, off Facebook. They're already doing that. You know, anti-vax stuff's been removed even off Pinterest and places like that. And they're talking about ways to change the algorithms and change the hashtags. I was reading an article the other day. And then we just had yesterday the Instagram and Facebook banning far-right extremists, Alex Jones, and forward Paul Joseph Watson, Milo, and others. Louis Farrakhan is apparently now a far-right extremist. But, you know, this is not just about Alex Jones, and this is also relates to Christchurch. It relates to the spread of vaccines. I think this piece even actually mentions vaccines. Yeah, companies failed to crack down on anti-vaccine content despite repeated promises. And they talk about how they're going after certain hashtags now, trying to stop people right here. Vaccine calls out autism, and different hashtags that anti-vaxxers are using. Now, on the Instagram, on the InfoWars front related to this, that I think we should expect to see happen with all of the controversial things we must not dare speak of. Facebook actually, and Instagram said they will remove any content containing InfoWars videos, radio segments, or articles unless the post is explicitly condemning the content, and will remove any groups set up to share InfoWars content and events promoting any of the banned extremist figures. So not only are Alex Jones and his people not allowed to be on there anymore, but if he's like, hey guys, will you follow my work? Why don't y'all share it for me? That's now going to be banned. And how long until that happens to anything that has to do with vaccines, anything that has to do with not just having groups and pages, but just making a post, hey, I have a question about vaccines. Is that going to get somebody banned? I think that's exactly where we're headed. This is why I'm embracing places like Minds.com. Minds.com, I personally don't care one way or the other what the politics of Bill and the other founders are, but I know that they're not after trying to censor us and to limit our reach and what we're doing. So this is why we are working with them, and we're going to continue to partner with them to spread new reports and new original content and keep waking people up. Now, I guess it's up to you guys to think about this, because this is going to continue to spread. I've tried to put this in practical terms to you more recently and to ask, what are you going to do if and when the order comes down and they start saying that in your neighborhood that your kids can't go to school anymore, or that they're going to start going door to door and knocking on people's houses and asking to see your papers if you've been vaccinated and things like that, or they want to put you in some sort of registry if you're not vaccinated, your kids aren't vaccinated. What are you going to do? What are you willing to do? Do you have a group of people? Do you have a freedom cell? Check out freedomcells.org. Or do you have a couple of close friends or church community or anything, neighbors, a big family, that you can pull together and say, like, look, if the shit goes down one way or the other, whether that means taxman coming in to take your family, whether that means CPS coming to take your kids because you don't vaccinate, because they don't like your religion, because they don't like the way you educate, whatever BS they come up with. Do you have a plan? Because I think as free, beautiful, autonomous human beings, we do not need to have to just blindly submit to that action. We should, in fact, stand up for ourselves and what we know is right and just. But the only way I think that we can avoid violence and bloodshed is to have organized ways to go about that. People coming together and practicing. What does that look like? How do we coordinate? Do we have a method of quickly communicating with everybody to let them know, hey, shit's going down. Everybody get here as quick as can. Let's just keep them out of the house and reduce the need for violence and things like that. Maybe that sounds crazy to some of you. I think it's going to become increasingly necessary, and I invite you guys to look into those ideas. If you want to learn more about freedom cells and community organizing, check out our website, search that, and you can find all the essays I've done over the years. Until next time, guys, though, just want to say thank you. There will be a live show tonight, Friday night, and every Friday as we go into summer and spring. I'm going to be coming at you every week with news that you want to hear about, talking about solutions, taking your questions, and generally just spending about an hour connecting with you guys on a real level. So I'll see you guys tonight. And remember, you are powerful, you are beautiful, and you are free, my friends. Peace.